The first game in the big leagues, though, didn't have crystal clear focus. I was media here, media there, meeting here, introduction to new teammates, coaches, staff members, BPs at this time, hitters meeting at this. Like, there was just so many things thrown at you. And all of a sudden, game time comes around. You're like, wait, who are we playing? Oh,
Yeah.
the Toronto Blue Jays. Oh, okay. What position am I playing? Third base. Okay, cool. Who's in their lineup? Edwin Encarnacion, Jose Bautista, Josh Donaldson. I'm like, oh, I'm going to play third base with those guys hitting? Okay, cool. Not even thinking about hitting at that point,
Yeah.
dude. Like, Josh Donaldson hit me a 110-mile-an-hour one-hopper that caught me, and I somehow turned a double play, and everyone's like, great play, great play. I was like, did I catch it? Why are we running off the field? What just happened? It was a whirlwind, man.
Welcome to Sports Business Unplugged, where the real game happens off the field. No fluff, no filters, just raw, uncut stories from the pros shaping the industry. Their journeys, their challenges, their passion, straight from the source. Let's talk sports business.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Business Unplugged. Today's guest is Ryon Healy, former MLB power hitter. He's now a hitting and mental performance coach, entrepreneur, and founder of Show Service Homes. From launching bombs in the big leagues to mentoring the next generation and building businesses, Ryon's journey is packed with insights for athletes and entrepreneurs alike. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you, Ryon?
I'm doing well, Andrew. How are you?
I'm great. I'm super excited for this episode.
Yeah, I am too. We're both San Fernando Valley boys, so we're going to
Yep.
share some stories and talk some business and baseball.
Yeah, no, I just want to start all the way at the beginning, all the way when you were, a youngster in middle school and high school. I mean, you obviously you weren't always the star. You weren't always that 5-star kid. You weren't varsity till late. You went undrafted, and even at Oregon, you had to fight for a spot. What is it like, kind of being the underdog and not being the Ohtani?
It was an interesting journey. I think that hunger drove me, and it taught me a lot of skills that has translated into my entrepreneurship journey and also just parenthood and marriage. It's not all rainbows and butterflies where every day is easy. It's really easy to be an all-star when it's 75 and sunny outside, but how do you respond when people doubt you? How do you respond when there's players that are better than you? How do you respond when there's businesses making a lot more money than you? I truly believe that those experiences taught me resiliency and to believe in myself and continue pushing forward.
Is there a specific moment, in your maybe high school career that fueled you even more, where you knew that you had it or that you wanted to pursue it?
My junior season showed me a lot, and my sophomore season in high school was very similar to my freshman season in college, meaning there was a slightly better first baseman that earned the starting spot in front of me, had to essentially wait my turn and earn the right to get a start in a game through practice reps because they wanted to go with a more projectable or better prospect. So I had to wait my turn patiently and mentally and physically prepare myself that when I did earn that initial start, I knew I could never give it back. And I knew that I had to perform. So how could I prepare myself for that opportunity and take full advantage of it when I did?
How did you learn how to handle that pressure? Because I feel like a lot of athletes are fold under the pressure, and it's tough out there when you're always on the possibility of losing your job.
Yeah, I don't think I thought of it like that in high school. It was still just a sport. That innocence wasn't broken until I probably got to AA baseball, and you started seeing how transactions at the major league will affect the AAA and AA ranks.
Yes.
But to answer the original question, my parents are the number one reason why. They blindly believed in me and encouraged me to believe in myself. And one of my favorite quotes that I heard recently was never underestimate a man that overestimates himself. And my parents instilled the belief into me to overestimate what I was truly possible or what people might have believed I could do. And once you kind of prove it to yourself once in a game, you start to understand, why can't I do that every time?
Yeah. How do you get to Oregon? How does that all happen?
There was a game at Damien High School. It was a quarterfinal playoff game, and I was the starting pitcher. Hit probably the farthest ball of my life that game as well. And I remember my dad, he couldn't sit in the stand, especially when I was pitching. He was sitting down the right field line, and one of the Oregon assistant recruiting coordinators was out at that game. Whether it was me they were there for, or other players, they came and got a show. I threw a complete game, hit a big home run, had a couple knocks, and it was one of those defining moments for me of like they saw the competitor that I was on the mound. They saw the performance that I had in big games and the poise that, I could have, that the playoffs weren't too big for me as a junior in high school. And I remember they made an offer to me that week, and then that summer happened. We flew up there. And the minute that I stepped on on ground in Eugene, being an LA kid, you saw the trees, the open grass, just a very different layout. I loved it. And I was tricked a little bit because I went up there in the summer, so it wasn't raining every day. But the rain never bothered me, and I love my time in Oregon.
So you get to Oregon, how does the pressure, do you feel pressure like right when you step on the field at Oregon, or do you get the starting spot right away? How does that work?
I don't want to say I felt pressure. I had a really great scholarship going there, almost as close to a full ride as you can get those days. No NIL money, unfortunately. It would have been nice, but, you showed up there and we had a tremendous recruiting class. You got to remember too, Angel, this was the third full season of Oregon's program coming back around. So I went there very optimistic that they weren't super established. They had some seniors that had showcased themselves, but they didn't have a lockdown first baseman. And there was another freshman incoming that was drafted out of high school that I knew I'd be competing with. Go through the fall, thought I performed well. Went through the winter, thought I performed well, stayed healthy. Come opening day, I was starting DH in Hawaii, and the other freshman that was drafted out of high school didn't sign. He was actually the starting first baseman. I started opening night, went 0 for 3 with the sack bunt because West Coast baseball, that's how it is. Didn't play the rest of the series, got a pinch hit like the last game there. And I rode the bench for the next 2 to 3 weeks and couldn't figure out why. No answers, nothing. Finally, in a random Sunday, I got an opportunity because the other freshman first baseman was struggling, and that was the last time that I didn't start at first base for the next 2.5 years.
Wow, so it just happens just like that.
Oh, man, there's so many other, small stories within there. I remember going down to Long Beach within that, 3-week stretch of Hawaii opening day to Arizona. It was a Sunday day game that I got to start. In that 3-week stretch, we went down to Long Beach State. And my parents saw me, and my dad looked at me. He's like, "You don't look like yourself. You look really skinny in the box." I went from 220 to 195.
Wow.
Because they have these bod pods, and they told me that I was 24% body fat, and they're like, "You need to lose the baby fat to be able to be a college athlete." So I took that very literally and went all in on it. I lost 25 pounds. I lost 14% body fat. I weighed 190 at 11% body fat. Thinking, wow, I did all the work. Now I can go rake. No, I actually lost all my power, and it wasn't all that fun. So my dad had that heart-to-heart with me in Long Beach State and kind of told me, and it was a reality check. So when I went back to Oregon, I had to refine myself a little bit quickly. And I felt like I slowly did. When I got the next opportunity, I took full advantage of it.
So did you come back and weight after that?
A little bit.
Come back up?
Not a ton. I didn't have a lot of time. The summer is when I did. I went and played Cape Cod League summer that year, and I remember, you ever seen the protein shake where it's the carb mass or whatever? I was drinking that 2 or 3 times a day.
Mass gainer.
Yes, there you go, mass gainer. I was having 2 to 3 shakes a day of that, of just dude, I'm going to go all in and eat all the food I can, drink these shakes, and try and put my weight back on because I need that to kind of be the athlete that I was born to be.
So I'm just curious, does weight have that much to do with power? Because I think, especially in MLB, you see some guys that are super skinny and hitting bombs, but maybe that could just be a one-off. And then I feel like there's some other big guys that don't hit as hard. So what do you think about that?
It's very unique for the individual, understanding how their body functions. Are they really an elastic, whippy, strong person that creates a ton of dissociation or separation? And you see someone like Mookie Betts who can really stretch their hips and their shoulder separation, and they create that lag with the barrel. It's crazy. And you talk about guys like Mike Trout, who's just more brute strength, who just rotates as one big piece. I was more of that type of rotator where I rotated in one big piece. And if I didn't have mass or momentum behind the baseball, I wasn't able to put full force into it. So when I lost 30 pounds of mass, had less to put into the baseball, and the result was couldn't really hit homers anymore, and that wasn't fun.
Oh, that's not fun at all. And then 2016 comes around, and then you get called up to the bigs in 2016. Well, I want to talk about Double A first a little bit, because I was watching one of your videos on your Instagram, and you were just talking about rock bottom in Double A. How like how do you get out of that type of rut mentally? Like, and why is mentality such an important thing to you and the students and the people that you teach?
Good question. I think I hit rock bottom probably once a season, every season for my whole career, especially pro ball. The time in Double A, though, it's like you overcome massive adversity the year prior in 2014 in High A to go from hitting a $180 through the first 150 at bats of the season to finishing at like 275, 280. Like, you overcome that challenge, you're like, man, I can do that, amazing. And you're faced with another challenge the next season, you're like, oh God, here we go again. Like, it's one of those. I don't know if it got easier. Maybe I got more experienced with how to handle it. Or now that I'm retired and I don't do it every day, it's really easy to reflect on and say, oh yeah, maybe it wasn't that bad. When in the moment, it's the hardest thing in the world. I learn every single day now when my players go through that situation, because I've learned how to do it as a player, but I'm learning how to do it as a coach. As a player, I could step in the batter's box and actually fix the problem. As the coach, I can't fix the problem. I can provide solutions, but I can't step in the box for them. So it's more about the mental side of the game of how do we get them to believe in themselves a little bit, have clarity on what they need to execute in that game, and then make it really simple of let's just go do this one thing today. And then let's see how well you did it. Like, this is the plan. Go do this one thing. And then after the game, how did you execute that one thing? If I can get their minds to condense down a little bit to the short term of, just that 12-hour window, now they're not worried about the next game or the next week or the next 300 at-bats coming. They're just focused on those 4 they have tonight and how can I execute this one thing that I know can bring me results.
Yeah, I that makes a lot of sense to me. So just kind of focusing on one area or one thing each game and getting that better each game. And then that kind of has a snowball effect. And then you get better at one thing one day, and the next day you get better at something else. And then over time, you become an overall more rounded player.
Yeah, and my job at the coaching side now is to document the process. So I have players that, let's just say last night, they go 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, and last week they hit 500 with a couple homers, and they're feeling tremendous about themselves, and now they're questioning everything they've ever done. They're 2 games into the week with a couple strikeouts, and they think the whole world is falling down. I'm like, I don't understand why we changed our plan when last week worked really well. Well, what did we work on last week? I was like, well, what we worked on was this, this, and this. These 3 things really brought those results. Are you doing those things right now? Well, no. Okay, well, why did we change plans when we had success? It doesn't add up. For me, success always leaves clues to why it happens, and my job is to make sure that I'm highlighting the key or the clues of like, hey, look, this is why it happened. Let's get back to this. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's like a light bulb moment for them. But
yeah.
As from the player's perspective, when you're competing every day and you have something that's distracting you or pulling your attention, meaning failure, results, the wins, losses, whatever it is, distracting you every day, it's really hard to maintain that clear focus.
So then in 2016, you get called up to the bigs, and you have your MLB debut. Then the next day, you hit a homer. How do you feel before your first at bat in the MLB, and then how do you feel after you hit that home run? Like, what are the emotions like? What's going through your head?
We just talked about that like crystal clear focus that I try to give guys on a regular basis. That was the 1 year of my career where I had it from start to finish. Maybe in college a year, maybe high school a year too, but in big leagues, that was the 1 year I had crystal clear focus. The first game in the big leagues, though, didn't have crystal clear focus. I was media here, media there, meeting here, introduction to new teammates, coaches, staff members, BPs at this time, hitters meeting at this. Like, there was just so many things thrown at you. And all of a sudden, game time comes around. You're like, wait, who are we playing? Oh, yeah. The Toronto Blue Jays. Oh, okay. What position am I playing? Third base. Okay, cool. Who's in their lineup? Edwin Encarnacion, Jose Bautista, Josh Donaldson. I'm like, oh, I'm going to play third base with those guys hitting? Okay, cool. Not even thinking about hitting at that point.
Yeah.
Dude, like, Josh Donaldson hit me 110 mile an hour one hopper that caught me, and I somehow turned a double play, and everyone's like, great play, great play. I was like, did I catch it? Why are we running off the field? What just happened? It was a whirlwind, man. And then it slowed down a little bit the next day. Getting the hit, the first at bat off of R.A. Dickey helped slow it back down. And from there, it was just, all right, let's compete. Let's go.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, it's crazy how you can kind of focus in even on your second day, because I feel like a lot of players wouldn't even have been able to do that. They would have been so entranced on what happened the first day, it probably would have affected them the second day and the third day.
You got to remember, Andrew, once you're in between the lines, like once the game time starts, like the anthem is played, it's familiar. It's the same at every level you play at. There are more distractions around you, but day one, the distractions are a shell shock. Day two, you have some like anticipation for what those distractions might look like and how do I prepare my normal around that? What's my routine? How do I get to that as quickly as possible? So that I'm just trying to organize my life enough by the time I show up to the ballpark to when the game starts so that I can reserve some of that energy and focus for game time. Because once we get to the game, I know what to do. I've done that my whole life. There's more people watching. The stadium's bigger, but it's still me versus you. Let's go.
That makes sense. So, yeah, and we talked about the mindset and being locked in, and you had that whole season where you were locked in, but your teammates described you as, goofy, joking around and having fun. How do you balance having that, lock-in mindset with also having fun with your teammates and your coaches?
So it's a great question, because I'm just a big personality, Andrew. Like I like to laugh. I like to make people laugh. I like to enjoy the journey along the way. I'm the same way even with coaching now. Like I want my guys to enjoy being around me. It's not just I'm Lieutenant Coach Ryan and listen to every word I say. There's moments for that, but it needs to be like fun, more importantly. But to answer the question a little more specifically, I feel like if I enjoyed the moments in between the actual high level focus that I needed, that I was reserving my energy, or for me, I was actually gaining energy from the interactions, the laughs, the storytelling, the chuckles. Like it removed the opportunity for my brain to spiral on the on-field performance. It allowed the clarity to stay clear. I could focus on what I need to do because I already had a plan. Now let me kind of shut that side of my brain down. Let me have fun with the guys in the clubhouse. Let's play some cards. So it was kind of compartmentalizing a little bit of the performer and the competitor on the field, and also just like the human Ryan.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that answer. So it's just kind of giving you like a brain break.
100%. And I'm different. Like I'm an extrovert. Like I get energy from communicating with people, where some like I need to just go be alone. I liked communicating with guys, and that made me feel more normal, especially as some of my buddies started getting called up in Oakland. And that transition helped with comfort in the locker room, comfort on the playing field, and I could play a little bit better.
Awesome. Yeah. And where we've been talking about a lot of off the field stuff, I want to talk about a little bit of on the field stuff too. You hit a couple blasting homers, the 480-foot one, and how does that feel when you hit a ball 480 feet in front of a bunch of fans? And then, you had a 25 homer season in 2017. And is there like, especially I want to know about that season, was there like a clutch moment or something that makes you smile to this day?
I guess I'll answer that part first, because I do. There was a walk-off home run that I hit off of K-Rod. He was with the Tigers at the time. And it was a day game on a Sunday, and one of my best friends from college flew out to Oakland to come see me and surprise me that weekend. Awesome. So him, his now wife, and then my wife, they were all there to see it. So getting to hit that walk-off home run in 2017 was tremendous. And obviously I have a K-Rod. It wasn't the same guy that was with the Angels throwing upper 90s and nasty changeup. He was like 87, 90 with a good changeup, but I got a fastball, hit it high fly ball to left field for a homer, and to hit a walk-off was unbelievable. The emotions, to share it with people you love, and that knew me beyond just the baseball field was really special. The other part of your question was like 20 or 25 homers in the big leagues. Dude, it was a grind. Like it came in bunches. Like I would hit 11 homers one month and I hit 2 the next month. Like it. Yeah. You look at the body of work at the end of it, you're like, that was really cool. Like, but wow, that was a lot of gray hairs I'm gonna have later on in my life during the process, because months like a June of that season, I hit 11 homers, and then I would go on a stretch of not hitting any, and you're like, the ebbs and flows of power at the big league level is tremendous.
Does it I feel like it would be even more stress when you hit 11 homers, then the next month, you hit 0 or 2, than if you just were not doing good the whole season. You know what I mean? Because you're like, I was here, but now I'm here. How do I get back up here? Does that make sense, or no? Is that not?
I disagree with that. But I understand where you were going with that. I think your
Yeah.
initial statement was closer of like,
Yeah.
once you do it, you prove to yourself you're capable. And once you prove
Okay.
yourself you're capable, the expectation is now I want to do that every month.
Okay.
And when I don't do it, I get really frustrated.
Yes.
But I don't agree that if I didn't do that all season, I would have been calmer, because I probably would have just been a psychopath the whole season
Yeah.
instead of taking a month off to breathe and enjoy the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. And you after that, you're playing. You have a couple seasons in Oakland, and then you get traded to Seattle.
Mhm.
And in Seattle in 2019 was kind of a rough year. Like, this is kind of going back to that mentality, that state of mental. How you're keeping that mental focus. You establish yourself in Seattle, and then like you get this injury, and it turns into a serious injury, and you have to get surgery at a young age. How do you cope with that? How, like, that's just so difficult.
Yeah, it was a lot to process. The trade to Seattle was tough in general, just because I had a lot of friends and family, it felt like, in Oakland, a team that drafted me, developed me, and spent some time in the big leagues, and a lot of teammates were really close friends. It's hard to replicate that when you get traded, and I wasn't mature enough at that time to know exactly who I was as a person and a player. I was still searching a lot for that. So 2018 was a lot of up and downs. 2019, I came back with a vengeance. Got an opportunity late in spring when Kyle Seager got hurt to be a starting third baseman. Took advantage of it. I was leading the major leagues in extra base hits through the month of April. So 5-6 weeks into the season, I was leading the major leagues in extra base hit.
Awesome.
May comes around. I start having some back pain, and it just kind of escalates tremendously. I think my average dropped from like the 270, 280 range down to the 230, 240 range, just because I went on a skid. Ended up going to the IL and never came off that year, which really stunk, man. It was not fun. It's a lot of, remember that quiet time we talked about of like plus in the clubhouse with teammates of enjoying yourself? It was a lot of quiet time for me to think and to analyze and to overanalyze and overthink the things that probably didn't deserve as much time. And it definitely made it harder when I came back from that, because first off, I wasn't the same player physically after the surgery. I didn't have the same power. And B, I was a different player mentally because of the experiences that I went through, and never really felt like I found my stride like I did pre-surgery after it.
So then you come back, and then you go to the Brewers for a little bit?
Yeah, that was COVID year. I got married that offseason, so that gave me some good perspective on life. I signed with the Brewers, split deal. I had a good chance to make the big league team there. They had some veterans. They were, I don't want to say rebuilding, because the Brewers don't rebuild, they retool. They had a lot of veterans, though. Thought I had a good chance to make that club as a extra bat, bench bat, or even like a first, third baseman utility guy. Signed Brock Holt late in the offseason or in spring training, and then COVID happened. So I was having a good spring. We all broke, went home, went back to Milwaukee that summer for the month of our second spring, raked. Thought I was going to make the club, to be honest, and didn't. Went to Appleton, was kind of up and down. I think I went on every single road trip with the big league team that season, but only got 10 at-bats in the big leagues. So it was just one of those situations where, like, you weren't the guy, and they had guys they were paying more to be the guy, and there was only 60 games to get opportunity, and I didn't get much of it, and when I did get it, I didn't take advantage of it, so that's on me. But it's funny, Andrew, I ended that season batting fourth against Clayton Kershaw in a playoff game at Dodger Stadium, an empty Dodger Stadium, and that's the last game that I played in the major leagues.
Wow. Do you remember that day?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Like, vividly?
Very much so. I remember sitting in my hotel room the night before the series started at 11 p.m. waiting to hear if I was going to make the roster or not, because it was still uncertain. And Craig Counsell called me at 11 p.m. said, "Hey, you're going to be on the roster for the series." I was like, I can't even call my parents. They're asleep. Like, what do I do? Like,
do you remember your last at bat?
I think it was a ground out to the shortstop. I did that a lot in my career.
Well, then after the major leagues, you go to KBO. How is how's playing in South Korea and the dynamic in South Korea different than the major leagues? I assume it's completely different.
Yeah, the podcast isn't long enough to break down all of the
Okay.
differences, but I learned a lot. It was awesome to be fully submerged into a different culture.
Yeah.
It was still a hard time just in our world to exist with COVID. So like they were very, very strict in Korea with COVID regulations, getting into the country,
Yep.
how you maneuver throughout the country. There was a lot of regulations there that were hard to navigate. I didn't get to experience it to the fullest extent, but it was a great opportunity to play baseball in a different foreign country, to get some guaranteed money for my family's later years.
Yep.
And I thought I was going to have a chance to really revitalize my career with a long season of 500-600 at bats to have a chance to come back here. The one thing I learned though is when you are the only foreign hitter on a club and has major league time, the expectations of your performance is that you're going to be Mike Trout over there. And I wasn't Mike Trout right away because I just wasn't playing well enough. I came off the hip surgery in 19, COVID year in 2020. I wasn't my normal self. And I felt like right before I got released, I was finding myself again with that power stroke, and then getting sent home on the 4th of July, which was really tough halfway through the season. Missed out on a lot of at-bats there that I really wish I could have got.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then you get sent home, and I want to talk about like life after baseball too, because I think that's something that's really important. And I think a lot of athletes struggle with what now after their career, after they retire. I mean, obviously, that's not easy. Everybody knows it's not easy, but you feel this type of anxiety and lost because you have this structure of a baseball season. I mean, I don't know how much structure, because it seems like a lot of stuff goes on, but you have structure and then you don't have structure. How do you find yourself after baseball?
It's really easy. It just takes 2 years and a lot of hard days and second guessing yourself and failing to, figure it out. It's super easy.
Yeah.
Probably the hardest transition I've ever gone through my entire life, to be honest with you, Andrew, is the transition out of professional baseball. And the cherry on top was we just had my daughter in May of 22. And that was the year that I kind of was the ultimate decision. Like, I'm done. Like, I want to be a full-time dad. I want to embark on my next journeys. So I fully submerged myself into that, and definitely had baseball left in me. But I knew the sacrifice that I would have been giving up at that time was not worth the potential to relive a dream that I feel like I already accomplished so much on the field.
And then, so how long does it take you after baseball to find your next venture?
I started right away, actually. I started during, so I stopped playing, let's just say, my spring training in 22 with the Rays. I had 8 days, 9 at-bats. I started to getting my real estate license during that. So I knew real estate was where I wanted to go next.
Okay.
I wanted to control my time, control my money, and learn a new skill set in that process. So I was already taking the courses and such to get my real estate license. And then that summer I ended up going and taking the test, passed it, and started. Didn't do much with it. I did way more investing than I did agent work. Joined a mentorship out of Kansas City. The head mentor and I got close, ended up working with and for him for close to 2 years with different avenues of his own business, which gave me a lot of confidence to start what I'm doing now, because I saw him doing the fully remote mentorship for other investors that wanted to learn how to invest in real estate. And I understood some of the processes of the marketing, the sales, the funnels, the campaigns that he was doing, the interaction, the community. And I was like, I could do that for baseball. I just had to understand it from the inside out of how I could make that happen. And once I understood it well enough, I was ready to bet on myself.
Yeah. And I mean, you're doing show service homes too. How do you think of that idea? How does that come to life?
Man, what's funny is that I actually just killed that business in January of this year because I wanted to focus full-fledged on the hitting
baseball
and mental performance side. Yeah, but I thought of the idea because one of my best friends who was playing Major League Baseball at the time was building a big old house 10 minutes from me. And he had contractors, subcontractors there all the time. And needed help to make sure that things were getting done and, receiving materials at different time. And I would just kind of go over there and send updates to him. And then I had another buddy who had a vacant house for the last 6 months while he was gone, sent him a text. Hey, you need me to go check on the house? Went up there and kind of sent him a list of things that I saw that could be problematic. During this process, I was also flying to Kansas City, to Alabama, to different places for properties I was buying, purchasing, rehabbing, and then selling or renting. So I was getting the understanding of like what it looked like to find specific problems, which ones were expensive, which ones mattered, and then providing solutions. I knew how to find the solutions for the clients. And if I could take care of those problems for them before they came home, I thought that was going to be of value. So when I shut the business down, I had about 17, 18 clients that were either major league players, coaches, or part of the Players Association. And I loved it, but the scalability in it and the time that was spent, I felt like my time was better spent doing the coaching gig, and I've been proven right so far this year.
Yeah. So do you manage all your own properties and your investments?
Absolutely not. I pay people to do that for me because I want my attention to be spent for my clients that I work with here. Because one thing that I was told by a higher up with Adidas, actually, I was speaking with them on the phone. I asked for advice, like, when you started your entrepreneur journey, what's one thing you wish you knew then that you know now? And he told me, he said, seek opportunity within your ballpark of expertise. And I was never going to be an expert property manager, nor did I want to be. But I felt like the experience that I had with baseball, I could be considered an expert in that. And I could really help people through their own personal journey because of the experiences that I had and the willingness that I had to continue to educate myself and learn from people that have a lot more coaching experience than I do. So when I found those right people to surround myself with, the business started to grow rapidly. And once I stopped the show service homes, I got an opportunity to do MLB network radio work for Sirius XM. And that was within my ballpark of expertise. So I took that shot. Now I have different opportunities or different things I'm working on that are all in the same ballpark of expertise of baseball. And it blends together so much better now.
Yeah. How do you market yourself as both an athlete and a businessman at the same time?
That's a good question, man. I've been doing social media for a year and a half, and I'm not an expert at that. I have someone that helps. I have someone that helps me tremendously on both sides to do a lot of the editing. Obviously, the information, the content's all mine, but there was things that I knew I didn't want to do or didn't want to learn. And I know the people that are successful at social media are just consistent with it. They're not perfect, they're consistent. So I needed someone to assist me with the consistency to make sure that I was impacting or spreading the messages that were truthful to me, because I felt that my experiences were real and not many people had them. And if they did have them, they weren't willing to share them on a public platform. So I wanted to give that opportunity to other current and former athletes, like, you could do this also. And that's been a lot of fun to share some of the highs and the lows, especially with, high school kids that have the dreams and aspirations of playing Major League Baseball.
Yeah, no, yeah. And speaking a little bit about that, I know you're super passionate about the 3KV approach, mental skills approach, mechanics. Why do you put mindset first in that trio?
To be honest with you, it's because the mental side of the game is what ultimately ended my career. It was the thing that I wasn't good enough at to keep myself at that high level. And for a guy that had all the skill set, that had success at the highest level, to have his career ended because his mental game wasn't strong enough to manage the failures that came with it, I knew that there were people out there that were dealing with the same thing. And if I could be someone that can teach from my experiences of failing miserably at it, it's more relatable than saying, I did this perfect, watch me go, now you guys just got to do the same thing. So that's why I put that first and foremost, because it's the thing that took my career away.
Yeah, and I've spoken about this on a couple other episodes with other guests. And how do you feel about using data and analytics to help a player? Because the people that I've had on so far have said that it's really important, but a lot of players only focus on that, and it affects them very negatively.
I think that if we spent enough time on here, we can find examples for every version of the story we wanted to tell. What I know is true and is a fact is that the game is using more analytics now than it ever has been, and it only continues to grow more. So the people, coaches or players that refuse to utilize any of the analytics are going to be left behind at some point, unless they are just such a tremendous talent that it doesn't matter. But that's the exception, not the rule. How the analytics is translated to the athlete is by far the biggest challenge that organizations are having right now. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. Some organizations do a great job at it. They have the liaisons between the analysts and then also the athlete to make it make sense. So for me, with my people, I have data, I have analytics, I have databases I can go to showcase facts, but I filter out the things that are important to at least the conversations we've had. And if I'm using analytics for a specific conversation, it is to support an opinion or something my eyes see to get their full buy-in. And it's my job to show it, explain it, and then lead them down the path of how to apply it step by step. If I can't do that, then I probably won't introduce the analytics right now.
Okay, so you only use the analytics when it's necessary to prove something that a player needs to know.
Yeah, like I'll use it in the cage almost every time I'm in there, but I don't have the iPad facing the player for them to see every swing. I have the iPad facing me so that I can provide feedback for what they might be feeling, what they might be focusing on, and how we can make adjustments from swing to swing. Okay. Because when they're in the batter's box in a high school or college game, they don't have an iPad or data in front of them to make adjustments in the batter's box and they'll be a bat. They have to go off of what they know, what they feel, and then what they think, and make an educated decision on how they're going to execute the next pitch or next swing. So trying to prepare them for the game-like environment while using the analytics as feedback for what they might be doing.
How do you coach a player over, online as effectively as someone in person?
That's a good question. And that's been one of my biggest challenges up to this point is improving my understanding of technology, not just in person, because it's easy to impact someone in person.
Yeah.
Understanding the information that they need, how much of it can they really digest and apply at a time, and then being willing to document the process, whether they're with me in person or remotely, so that I can reflect back on notes that they said or I said, so we're not guessing every time we meet. But like there's videos that's exchanged on a regular basis, practice and game swings, that's documented of what their performance was like, what their process was like in game, especially when they had success. And then when there's failure, giving them one clear thing that they could have done better so that they're not asking themselves questions without knowing the answers. I give them the answers to the one question that really matters and try to retrain the brain a little bit for how we evaluate our performance.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you think it is ever as effective online than in person, or is it just not comparable?
It's 100% comparable. And I'll be honest with you, Andrew, there were times this season, multiple times, where I felt like my remote players were getting better results than my in-person players because they almost had less of a crutch to lean on because they had the information. It was on them to apply it, whereas the local kids here in Arizona could lean on me a lot heavier because they could physically see me in the cage at least once a week. Or if they needed really big help, they'd ask for an extra session. And of course I obliged because I'm here to serve. But I feel like the crutch that they could lean on was much bigger than the remote kids, and it forced them to be a little bit more independent.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So like that independence factor really helped them in the long run. That's 100%. That's cool. That's really cool to hear. I wouldn't have thought. I would have thought for sure that the in-person players would have been like here, and the online ones would have been lower. And that's cool to hear. That is really cool to hear. And I know you do, meditation and breathing techniques. And why did you start doing that, to manage stress, and has it helped you? Because I feel like a lot of people don't believe in that. And do you teach this to players now, or how does that work?
I used it a lot personally at the end of my career when I was in Korea to help silence some of that noise that was going on in my head. And if I could find that silence outside of the batter's box, I knew that I could find it inside of the batter's box. Because when you think about just hitting in general, if I go to the cage and I take some great swings and I have confidence now that I can go in the game and take great swings, what about when my mind speeds up on me in the middle of the game and I don't know how to slow it down? So when my mind's racing off the field, how do I practice slowing it back down? What skills worked for me? Was it a breathing cycle? Was it the ability to close my eyes and visualize something positive, or have that go-to scenario that helped me slow it back down? The game wants to speed you up. But if we never practice how to slow it down, then we're never going to have that skill set when we need it most. Now, Andrew, I don't force this down my player's throat. A lot of times, players have to fail enough to want to learn those skill sets, because if it's not applicable or important to them right here, right now, they're not always looking for the next cutting edge idea or adding things to their plate. So it has to be appropriately delivered. And it goes back to our analytics conversation. It's not, here's the blueprint and make it happen. It's what's important to you right now. Let's add this skill to your tool belt, and then let's continue adding over the next couple months.
How do you individualize for each player? Because I feel like that would be kind of difficult, because you have your baseline and you know what you know, but how do you go from player to player, and what if you're going from you have a session with a high schooler, then you have a session with a low middle schooler, a kid in elementary school? Like, how do you do that?
It's a great question. One of the first off seasons I did this, I would literally go from hitting with close friends, major leaguers, hitting with them in the cage for an hour and a half, to literally a 10 or 11-year-old walking in the cage. I was like, I would laugh. I'm like, how am I going to translate the words that I just said to the major leaguer to this young kid? And that was the challenge that I embraced. I wanted to learn how to explain and articulate hitting thoughts or theories or mechanics 15 to 20 different ways so that I could serve more clients. And it took a lot of practice. It took a lot of studying. It took a lot of failure to get to that point. The difference, I guess, with me is when I'm in the cage and I say something that doesn't translate, I'll tell you to scrap it right away. It doesn't need to work, because the way that you take my information and apply it can be completely different than what I meant it. Or maybe you just don't understand how to do it. That's okay. I've understood that self-awareness in individuals is less and less the younger they are, the less reps they have. So I can't ask a kid to feel a specific cue or feeling in the cage if he's never done it before in his life. So we'll have to backtrack a little bit more. But I love the challenge of individualizing the coaching, because that's what the players deserve and they need. And when you get that unlock feeling of like, oh my gosh, that actually worked, it's the most rewarding thing as a coach, and even more so for the player to be like, wow, I just learned something that I never knew before.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought of two questions and I don't want to forget them, so I'm going to ask both. But do you kind of have more empathy for coaches now that you're a coach than when you were a player? And I don't want to forget this, I'm asking you now. What gives you more satisfaction? When you were in MLB and you did something really good, or now when you're coaching a kid and your coaching pays off and they did something really good?
Good question. Good questions. The first one is, yes, I have way more empathy and understanding of the coaches that had to deal with me as a player, and I apologize to each and every one of them, because I'm sure I was an absolute pain in the rear. But I was passionate and I loved it and I wanted to learn, and I was never satisfied. I was a perfectionist, and I come across a lot of kids now, to transition the second question, of they're perfectionists and trying to simplify what they're trying to execute in the moment, giving them organization and structure to what they define perfect is. I love that challenge, because I owe a lot of people and coaches along my journey the patience and the empathy for going on that journey with me. And that's why I tell my players now, like, I'm on this journey with you. And it's a tough question to answer of, do I like the major league results that I got more than when a player unlocks it now? It's a difficult challenge to answer that question. I'm going to say they're equal, just because like doing it there's nothing like it. But there's also nothing like getting a text from a player or a parent for their son having so much success at a massive tournament that they just went to. And, they had won the MVP or they won the championship and they played tremendous start to finish. And like the satisfaction I get from young players unlocking their true potential is the most rewarding feeling. Very, very similar to like hitting a walk-off home run in the major leagues.
That's really cool, because I mean, I've interviewed some other athletes on here, and a lot of them say that they never will be able to feel the fire that they had when they were in, the pros, whether it's baseball, football, whatever, in a regular job. And I think that's really cool that even if it's not as much, that you're able to feel that. That's pretty awesome. I think that's
my wife and kids have seen me jump up off the couch yell loud, clap my hands, whatever it is, just out of pure excitement for someone. And they're like, what's going on? I was like, so-and-so just hit a home run in this game. And oh gosh, I can't believe you just did that. And like, I feel the emotions that I've similar to what I would have felt as a player for my guys, because I know the work that went into that result.
Is there a specific example from your coaching career so far that just like that's like just the one that, a kid did something, you coached him and he did it, and the result, like, is there one that you can pinpoint?
I guess I'll just give you a recent one. Like this past week, I had a young kid. I don't work with many young kids anymore. I got like 3 or 4 kids that are 12 years old, and he went to Cooperstown for his first time, and such obviously a big event for a 12-year-old. Team won the championship. He hit over 500, had 6 doubles, 3 homers, played shutdown defense, and it was a text that I got, videos that I got from his dad throughout the journey of just like, he was thanking me so much. He's like, that's all you, Ryan. It's all your coaching. And I kind of responded and I said, no, like I said, that's a testament of your trust in me and your son's hard work. Like I don't deserve any credit for this. Like he did this and you did this. Enjoy it. And I felt like that, like the butterflies in your stomach from like the pure enjoyment or satisfaction of something. I felt that this week, and it happens often, but I'd say just as often as I feel that feeling, I feel the heartbreak for the players that are struggling, because I work with close to 40 players now, one-on-one, and no matter how many guys are swinging it well, there's always a couple that are struggling, and I always empathize more with the players struggling than the guys that are raking, because I know that feeling.
Yeah. Love that answer. I want to ask you a couple rapid fire questions. I love this segment. A lot of our guests have loved this segment. It's fun. What's the story behind your nickname, Bubba?
My dad just loved the name Bubba, and I call my son Bubba too, so it's just kind of been a lineage name now.
If you could replay one home run for your career and relive that feeling, which one would you pick?
First hit in the major leagues, the home run off R.A. Dickey with my whole family, friends there, pointing up to the stands after. That one for sure.
Who's the toughest pitcher you've ever faced in the big leagues?
So many guys on that list. Corey Kluber is top of that list. Garrett Cole with the Astros, top of that list. And then 2 that ate my lunch was Wade Miley and Wade Miley and Dallas Keuchel. They both absolutely dominated me, so I gave you 4.
What is your favorite MLB ballpark to hit in?
Kansas City. I loved Kauffman Stadium. Big gaps and a lot of hits out there.
What's your favorite stadium, like, looks wise?
New Yankee Stadium, hard to beat. Shea Stadium is on that list as well. And then you got Wrigley and Fenway for kind of the history. Those 4 were tremendous.
Besides your first homer, what was your welcome to the MLB moment?
My first at bat ever in the major leagues, the strikeout against Marcus Stroman, where I ended the inning, and my good buddy now, Yonder Alonso, ran out with my hat and glove and said, "Welcome to the show, kid."
That's awesome. What is the coolest thing you experienced in South Korea off the field?
Said it was COVID because we couldn't do much. We went to Costco a lot there. It's probably not very cultural to me, but yeah, we couldn't really do much outside of that.
Yeah. As a coach now, do you ever find yourself using your own former coach's catchphrases or drills?
All the time. Everything that I do, coaching, is just compiled of all the brilliant minds that I learned from. This isn't all just original. This is the years and years of expertise that my coach has handed down to me, and now I get to hand down to the next generation.
How do you unplug and relax nowadays, or like, what's your hobby?
2 kids, like that. I feel like being an entrepreneur, if anyone's an entrepreneur out there, you know how much you work.
Yep.
My schedule is I have quiet time in the morning. I wake up really early, and then it's full-blown kids for a couple hours, and then it's work from, honestly, 9 to 7, 9 to 6, depending on the day. And then I'll get an hour or 2 with the kids, and then I'll get an hour with my wife alone, and then it's back to the office for 2 hours, and then I'll try and sleep for, on a good night, 6.5, 7 hours. And I'm about to play my second round of golf all year this weekend, so that tells you I don't have many hobbies outside of my work and my family.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, and that's it for this episode of Sports Business Unplugged. Love this one, a lot of fun, and can't wait for you guys to hear it. Make sure you guys follow TikTok, Instagram, Sports Business Unplugged, and YouTube. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time.